by no means is it over.
We can hack human beings and other organisms. Science is replacing evolution by natural selection with evolution by intelligent design. Not the intelligent design of some god above the clouds.
But you, the real you, your intelligence, your memory, your personality is going to live forever and ever. According to the Bible, you will never die.
So the moment you bend your body for yoga, you are practicing Hindu.
Elon Musk has now taken over Twitter.
Pope says he wants everyone on Earth to show in the battle against climate change.
Free will, that's over.
For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind.
When we look at healthcare, a lot of times we look at being reactive. If I had a piece of sandpaper and I'm rubbing my arm, and you came and said, well, honey, let me put some medicine on it. And you put some medicine on it, and then when you left, I went to rubbing it again. And then you came back and you put more medicine on it, and then I kept rubbing it. Is it going to heal? Not till I stop the root cause. And many times in healthcare, we don't spend the time at looking at physiology to figure out the root cause. Are we looking at being proactive? And I'd like to share some things today on what we can do to be proactive. We're looking here at natural remedies for brain and mental health. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking about 8 different keys which we'll use for addressing brain function. But today I'd like to take a look at one of those, or just a portion of those, as we look at addressing brain function. A well-nourished and healthy brain. The brain is the organ and instrument of the mind and controls the whole body. In order for the other parts of the system to be healthy, the brain must be healthy. And in order for the brain to be healthy, the blood must be pure. If by correct habits of eating and drinking, the blood is kept pure, the brain will be properly nourished. And I tried for many years to figure out, as we look at health, where does it start? Does it start with the brain? Does it then address the body? Does the body then address the brain? Well, let's dissect it a little more. Let's take a deeper look. The brain is the organ and instrument of the mind and controls the whole body. And as we look at brain function and the organ, the brain, I believe the brain is the most important organ in the body. And yes, it controls the whole body, but what is the most important reason that the brain is the most important organ in the body? I would say this gentleman here says it's probably because that's how we communicate with God. It's so important that our brain function is working well. If it's not, can we discern His Word? Can we discern the Holy Spirit when the Holy Spirit speaks to us? It's very important. In order for the other parts of the system to be healthy, the brain must be healthy. So as we look at the overall body, for the rest of the body to be healthy, the brain must be healthy. And in order for the brain to be healthy, the blood must be pure. If by correct habits of eating and drinking, the blood is kept pure. The blood is like our fuel. If you put kerosene in a car, it's not going to run too good. I remember one night, I'm also a firefighter. I started firefighting back in 1980, and it's a way that I'm able to help our community. I'm a volunteer firefighter. And I remember one night we'd fought a fire, and it was probably 2, 3 in the morning. The driver of the fire truck drives back up, and we had 2 fuel pumps. One was for diesel, one was for gasoline. And he put the wrong fuel in the wrong truck. Fortunately, he realized it before he cranked the truck back up, but we had to leave the truck there until the mechanic came and drained all that fuel out. And I don't remember if it was the diesel or the gas burner he put the wrong fuel in. But the blood must be pure. And a surgeon told me many years ago, he said, Walt, if you want a patient to be healthy, you've got to look at the blood and you've got to look at the flow of the blood. You've got to take away anything that may harm the blood or the cells, which could be in the blood, and you've got to put in the blood what it needs. You've got your fats, proteins, your complex carbohydrates, your vitamins, your minerals, the hormones, the water, the oxygen, all the things that have to be in the blood. Is it there? Then it's going to run well. But then you have to have good perfusion. You've got to have good blood flow. If by correct habits of eating and drinking, the blood is kept pure, the brain will be properly nourished. And so, how do we address this? Tomorrow I'll talk a little bit more about this. We look at the proper foods. I remember I took nutrition from T. Colin Campbell. Who ever watched the China study? Anybody watch the China study? It was by T. Colin Campbell at Cornell University, Cambridge University. It's the most comprehensive nutrition study ever done. And I remember Dr. Campbell talking about the importance, as he instructed us at Cornell, the importance of nutrition and good phytochemicals. I'd like to look at some this afternoon that is a little bit different. As we look at nutrition, many times we don't look at herbs as nutrition, but they are. Let's take a look here. The first one is ginseng, and I'll tell you, in the mountains of East Tennessee, we call it sang. And if you're going to go hunt ginseng, you're going to say, I'm going singing. And that's just some Appalachian. But ginseng is very powerful for the brain. Ginseng has long been used throughout history and has been found to enhance memory within modern research. Although there are 11 species of ginseng, the true ginseng plant belongs only to the Panax genus, including both the American, which is what we have in Appalachia, which actually we have the best ginseng in the world. China would love to have all of our ginseng. Asian ginseng. Currently, researchers are interested in the genocides, the unique compounds of this herb. Offering a wide range of benefits, ginseng can reduce inflammation, reduce stress, and improve brain function. In fact, this herb has been shown to benefit those with AD, Alzheimer's disease. Has anyone ever been touched by AD? Any of your families? You know, back, y'all remember before, probably in the early 80s when we started calling it Alzheimer's. Before that, we called it organic brain syndrome. And AD is terrible, terrible. We did a search and rescue on a lady who, just not long ago, and she had driven her car, and she got out, and she just kept going. She had a focus, and she just kept going and going and going. It's a terrible disease, and we found ginseng can be beneficial. Offering a wide range of benefits, ginseng can reduce inflammation. Inflammation is huge in the body. It reduces stress levels. What is the number one diagnosis in America? Stress. Stress is huge. Now, WHO says that soon depression will surpass stress, and they actually predicted that prior to COVID. So as we look at what depression did, and I'm sure the physician back here can talk about, you know, what happened with COVID and depression. And improved brain function. In fact, this herb has been shown to benefit those with AD, Alzheimer's disease. While receiving ginseng treatment, research participants have shown improvements in cognition, but once ginseng treatments was discontinued, DC'd, improved scores declined to levels seen among the control group. Now, so what that tells me is if someone's using ginseng to improve cognitive function, and they have improvement in cognitive function, they'll need to keep using it. And once they discontinue using it, research shows they go back to baseline. It is concluded that Panax ginseng is clinically effective among Alzheimer's patients. So as we use different herbs, the question is, how do we use herbs? How do we take them internally? Well, you can use herbs, the dried herb. What's an herb that y'all would use as a tea? Ginseng. Ginseng, okay. What's another one? Licorice root, excellent, excellent. What are some of the herbs that y'all have used that you said? Pardon? Turmeric. Oh yeah, turmeric's tremendous. So you can use them as a tea. You can use them as a capsule. But what if you want to get it to last longer? Anybody grow gardens? Okay. Do you grow tomatoes? Now, if you grow your tomatoes, and let me tell you how we say tomatoes in the South. We say maters. And so if you grow your tomatoes and you pick that tomato and you set it out on the counter, can it last till next season? It's going to rot. So what do you do
in order for that tomato to last through till the next season? You can it, we call it putting it up. And so you may can a tomato. Tomatoes don't freeze too good, especially if you want to use, anyway, we won't go there. But anyway, you can freeze it, you can can it, you can dehydrate it, you can freeze dry it. That will put it up so it will last through the next season. For herbs, in order to get a longer shelf life, you can make an extract or you can make a tincture. A tincture uses alcohol, and an extract uses vegetable glycerin and distilled water. But let's say that you want that herb to even last longer. What can you do? You can make an essential oil. Now, who's ever used peppermint essential oil? 1 drop of peppermint essential oil. To get the same medicinal benefit out of peppermint tea, who's drank peppermint tea? You would have to drink 28 cups of peppermint tea to get the same medicinal benefit as 1 drop of peppermint essential oil. So I call essential oils herbs on steroids. They're very, very powerful, very concentrated. So let's go back to gotu-kola here. Gotu-kola is a nervine. This herb helps support healthy neurotransmitter function, mental alertness, and memory. Does anybody have mental alertness issues? No, don't. Maybe you don't want to raise your hands. How about memory? Do you ever forget something? Where did I put the keys? Or why did I walk in here? Let me walk back in the other room, and then, oh, that's right. And you come back. Anybody ever do that? Well, there's things that we can do to improve that function, and a lot of times it can be nutrition-based. Are we getting a good nutrition? Are we eating processed foods? Are we eating, are we not getting those nutrients that we need? And through these herbs, God has put phytochemicals in these herbs. They help different things. Let's say if you want the heart. What's the best herb for the heart? Hawthornberry. What's the best herb for the lungs? Mullein. How about the kidneys? Corn silk. I had a farmer yesterday bring me some corn silk that he had taken from some corn that was heirloom corn, and he brought me some corn silk. He also brought me some cornbread his wife made me, and that was good. If you want to dress the liver, what do you use? Milk thistle, exactly. So are there things that are really good for brain function? These herbs that we're talking about right now. Gotu-kola is a nervine. This herb helps to support healthy neurotransmitter function, mental alertness, and memory. Those are all important. Gotu-kola contains plenty of nutrients, such as vitamin B1, B6, which are important for proper brain function. So if we don't have those, we may not have proper brain function. Gotu-kola has the ability to stimulate blood circulation, and we talked about that earlier. If you want to look at bottom line, and we all know bottom line, the 2 lines. That's your bottom line. Bottom line in health to me is quality blood and good circulation, as that old surgeon told me years ago. And if you want to increase circulation to the brain, Gotu-kola can increase circulation to the brain and plays a role as a brain tonic. Because this wonderful plant is beneficial to improving attention, maybe this would work for the kids. I remember I was raised up on a farm, a dairy farm, and then we went to beef cattle. And when I left the country and went to the city and went to school, I remember sitting in class, and it was back, remember when we were kids, we didn't have air conditioners in school? We didn't have air conditioners in the car. And there might be some places you went, someone's highfalutin might have an air conditioner, but most of other folks didn't have air conditioners. And I remember sitting in class, and the windows were open, and I'd much rather be out on the farm or something. I'd look and watch the squirrels outside and watch the birds or whatever. And the teacher came to my parents and said, "You need to do something with this boy. He don't pay attention." Well, today we classify those kids with labels, with letters, right? Well, yeah. Well, maybe some herbs might be helpful to these children improving attention and concentration. And that was an issue I had. I had no interest in being in school. I'd rather be back on the farm, just enjoying the farm. It is widely used to enhance memory and heal neurodegenerative disorders. In accordance with a study published in 2023, Gotu-kola contains neuroprotective properties which are useful in treating deficits related to Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, and oxidative stress. Another study published in 2023 found that consuming gotu kola, one is able to improve short-term memory. And that's an issue that we find as we get into issues of dementia, is we have that short-term memory loss. You know, I can remember physicians coming to a patient and saying, you know, checking Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Jones, can you tell me who the president is? Can you tell me what the date is? The doctor had to look at his own watch to see what the date was. He didn't remember the date. And he's asking the patient to see if they have Alzheimer's. Do they have short-term memory? Gotu kola can help with short-term memory. And then there's ginkgo biloba. Who's heard of ginkgo? The most research on herbs for the brain is ginkgo biloba. Ginkgo biloba is derived from the leaves of the ginkgo tree, which has been found to promote cerebral enhancing properties. That sounds important. Used throughout Chinese herbal medicine, this herb has been treating a range of conditions since ancient times, including declining memory. Ginkgo is not a cure for dementia, but it has been shown to improve both memory and cognitive performance, and we need to improve our cognitive performance. Let's go back to the preacher. Do we need cognitive performance? When Satan comes and says you need to do this, do you need to have good cognition? Do you need to be sharp? Absolutely we do. In fact, ginkgo biloba is the most widely investigated and adopted herbal remedy for cognitive disorders, including Alzheimer's disease. Here it is, rosemary. When studying herbs and their therapeutic value, many turn to aromatherapy, utilizing the plant's potential essential oils. Does anybody have a diffuser in the house that you put essential oils in? It's great. I know this school teacher in our area. She is a science teacher, and in order to improve the kids' brain function and their moods, she literally will use aromatherapy in the room to pick them up or to slow them down. If it's a test, she uses some essential oils that can stimulate them to think well, or if they're a little too rowdy, if they come in from recess, she might use some to kind of calm them down a little bit. Well, aromatherapy can be very beneficial. Research published in the International Journal of Neuroscience, the aromas of a rosemary were tested to better understand their effects on cognition. Researchers found that rosemary significantly enhanced performance for overall memory and secondary memory tasks, and reduced the breakdown of acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter involved in learning and memory. And it's just the little essential oil of rosemary. Now, how can you use it? Well, those of us that have a mustache, we can just put a little on our mustache. You can join me, and we can just put it on our mustache, and we can smell it. Or we can put it in a diffuser, or you can put it on a little handkerchief or something and breathe it on it. Ashwagandha. Who's used ashwagandha? That's a great herb. It's real, it's amazing. I have a challenge. I used to have 200 and some employees that would work for me, and so my brain was always having to work in healthcare administration, thinking of what has to be done and what all and what everything, and thinking out 5 years and 10 years and whatever, and you'd have all these staff to do whatever needs to be done, and now I don't have that operation, but my brain hadn't stopped. And there's sometimes I'll lay down at night and I think of everything I didn't get done today that I wanted to get done, and then how am I going to get into tomorrow because I want to do stuff for tomorrow that I hadn't got to yet. And Mary Lou would just touch me on the shoulder and she'd say, "Are you having a hard time going to sleep?" Mm-hmm. And so she'll hand me an ashwagandha, and it will calm my brain right down, and I'll go right to sleep. But ashwagandha is really good. While studying mice, it was found that ashwagandha extract can reverse memory loss. Now, that's pretty cool. And support cognition among those with Alzheimer's. Research reported that initially, mice with Alzheimer's were unable to learn or retain the new information they learned after receiving ashwagandha for 20 days. However, significant improvements were observed. Amazingly, after 30 days, the behavior of these mice returned to normal. This is an NIH study here. And in addition to these effects, a reduction of amyloid plaques was reported. That's important. as well as improve cognitive abilities. Instead of influencing the brain directly, it appears that this herb increased a protein in the liver, which then enters the bloodstream before reaching the brain. For centuries, lemon balm has been used to soothe nervous agitation, has been regarded as a beneficial memory aid. What's one of the things we've seen since COVID? As we look at stress, there's another word that starts with an A, anxiety. I've got a good buddy of mine, he's a neurologist, and he specializes in brain function. And I was asking him, I said, Arvo, are you seeing a lot more anxiety coming to the practice? Because I'm seeing a whole lot more as people come and are sharing with me issues. And he said, absolutely. He said, anxiety is just shot through the roof. And so are there things that we can use for anxiety? And we'll talk about some others in just a moment. But lemon balm can be helpful in this area. This is based on lemon balm's ability to stimulate acetylcholine receptors. Although this connection has been well documented throughout history, studies are now reporting its benefits and effects on patients with Alzheimer's. Research published in Neuropsychopharmacology found that when giving healthy young adults lemon balm capsules, they perform significantly better when completing computer memory tests. In comparison to the placebo group, they found that the higher the dose, the greater the effects on memory and mood. So this can help your children if your children are trying to get better test scores. You know, take some lemon balm ahead of time. More specifically, it was found that lemon balm had a positive effect on pieces of the brain tissue, as well as the chemical receptors that are affected by Alzheimer's disease. The researchers stated that it was only the dried leaf that enhanced memory. So there is lemon balm that's an extract, but if you want to increase memory function, you want to use the dried leaf and not the extract. It's interesting, who's ever used dandelion? Anybody use dandelion? Dandelion's phenomenal. I remember one lady, a lady came in and she says, Walt, she called me, she says, Walt, I have worked for years trying to get rid of dandelion out of my yard, and now I found out it's good for me. See, dandelion, the leaves, if you have congestive heart failure and you're having congestion in the lungs, or if you're having edema in the ankles and the feet, dandelion leaf is the best for that. But let's say you have renal failure, or if you have liver failure, then dandelion root is much superior to the leaf. So it's different parts of the plant and different ways of preparing it. Sage. I know y'all cooked with sage before. Y'all cooked with sage? I'm sure everybody who's a cook out there cooked with sage. Sage is an herb for memory that has a number of brain benefits, a spice known for its pungent scent. Sage also has been found to aid in improving cognition and aid in the treatment of Alzheimer's disease. In fact, a review published in 2017 suggests sage contains compounds that may be beneficial for cognitive and neurological function. Now, turmeric's a big one right now. I like it in different dishes. But turmeric is just phenomenal as an anti-inflammatory, but it's huge also for the brain. Turmeric contains a compound called curcumin, which has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects, which can benefit brain health and also overall health. Research suggests that turmeric can potentially boost brain health and stave off Alzheimer's disease by clearing the brain of beta amyloid, a protein fragment. The buildup of beta amyloid is known to form Alzheimer's related brain plaques. In addition, turmeric may shield the brain health by inhibiting the breakdown of nerve cells in the brain. It is widely thought that one must include black pepper to enhance the absorption of turmeric. Y'all probably heard that before. You got to add black pepper to it. Well, there's a problem with that. Black pepper can irritate the mucosa in the stomach, and y'all, you got to take care of the mucosa. See, that you don't want to have ulcers, but also we get enzymes that are also produced through the mucosa. Take care of the mucosa, and black pepper can damage the mucosa. So is there something we can do? Absolutely. They have found that with the addition of turmeric essential oil, which makes BCM95, and you've probably heard of that, and or the addition of nattokinase. Who's heard of nattokinase? It comes from the natto plant, and if I was from Japan, I would say nattokinase. It's the natto plant, but we say nattokinase. But nattokinase is an excellent anticoagulant. It works very, very well as an anticoagulant, but it's also good it can help boost the turmeric where you don't have to have the black pepper. The turmeric essential oil, the BCM 95, is better. But if you add the two together, it's even better there. Without the negative effects of black pepper. Oregano. Anybody ever use oregano? Oregano is phenomenal. I call it my 357 Magnum. I'm out on the interstate a lot, and whether it's wrecks or fires, or I'm out searching somebody in the Appalachian Trail, I might be on a structure fire, and as the tones drop, let's see, what was it? Night before last, 2 o'clock in the morning, tones dropped, 2 something in the morning. An elderly lady in our community fell, couldn't get up, face down, stuck between the toilet and furniture and the bathroom, and so we had to respond in to get her up out of the floor. And when I do, you're supposed to be asleep at night. God turned the lights out so you'll sleep. But yet, when there's medical calls, you've got to go on those. And when you don't sleep, it can affect your immune system significantly. Well, what I'll use to help myself in that is in my turnouts, my fire turnouts, or in my wildland fire gear, or in my search and rescue gear, I have a bottle of oil of oregano. And it's phenomenal for the immune system. I'll just take I'll do 10 drops, but just don't do that. You think I'm trying to kill you. Start with just 3 drops. And I don't use it neat. Neat means it's just the oil of oregano by itself. I'll have it where it's mixed with olive oil. 1 part oil of oregano, 3 parts olive oil. And I'll take that combination and you start, say, 3 drops. If you catch that in the incipient stage, the very beginning, you know how you feel sometimes when you feel like you're getting sick? You feel it in here, you feel it here. Catch it right there. If you catch it in the incipient stage, you normally will get rid of that, and it's gone. And 2 hours later, if it's still there, do it again, it's pretty well going to be gone. But you've got to keep that bottle with you. Not when you get back home. Keep it in your purse, keep it in your car, keep it at your bedside. Actually, I've got one on my side of the bed. Mary Lou's got one on her side of the bed. Have you ever woke up in the middle of the night and feel like you're catching something? Well, I don't want to wake up Mary Lou, crawl over top of her or something. I'll just get mine, or she'll wake up and she'll get hurt, and it keeps us from getting sick. It's phenomenal. But what does it do for the brain? A study published in the British Journal of Nutrition and presented at the International Society of Neuroscience Conference in New Orleans found that oregano has potential mood-enhancing benefits. We need to sprinkle that stuff a lot of places, don't we? Do people have mood issues out there today? I find they do. That can attribute to its active compounds. The British Journal of Nutrition study, Journal of Nutrition study found that oregano caused a noticeable increase in the alpha-1 and the beta-1 brainwaves. Alpha-1 brainwaves induce relaxation, reduce anxiety, and improve learning and concentration. Again, very, very important. As we look at kids, I go into the school system every month and I teach kids from kindergarten through 8th grade, and sometimes I'll teach high school kids. And I call it the brain team. I'm trying to increase the brain function for those children. And we just did our TCAP scores, our TCAP test last week. And we want those kids to get the most benefit that they can as they're going through the school system. And as I teach them how to improve brain function, it's very important. And I'll talk about most of that tomorrow. But oregano is a way to improve that learning and concentration for those children. In addition, an increase in beta-1 brain waves is associated with higher levels of cognitive processing, very important, and alertness. So as we look at our foods here, we can get nutrition in these guys, but we also can get our nutrition from our herbs. And let me share just a couple more items real quickly. Anxiety is huge. We're okay. Anxiety is huge out there today. I had a lady come in not long ago, and I was helping a couple ladies. Walter, my son, was over helping someone else. And this lady comes walking in, she walks over, and you can tell she's about to explode. She's about Mount St. Helen. And I asked the lady, I said, "Can you excuse me just a minute?" And I walked over to this young lady and I said, "Can I help you? What's wrong?" And she said, "I am having the worst anxiety attack I've ever had. Can you help me?" I said, just a minute. So I went back, and I went and got my lavender, and I got my vetiver. Who's ever heard of vetiver? V-E-T-I-V-E-R. It's called the PTSD essential oil. And I put it, see, that girl didn't know who I was. And so I needed compliance to help her, but I needed trust. And so try this one with your doc. If you go into your doctor and you say, Doc, I'm having some real anxiety problems, he says, take these meds. You say, you take them first and let me see how it affects you. Well, he's probably not going to take them. But that's the neat thing about herbs. You know, you can show. So I put a drop of lavender right here transdermally. It went into the blood, you know, where you feel your pulse. And I rubbed it right here, just like you would a nicotine patch or a nitro patch. Rubbed it here, and I breathed it. It's going to go into the lungs and get into the blood. I then put a vetiver, 1 drop of vetiver, which has a much higher viscosity. Rubbed it, breathed it. I said, can I put this on you? And she said, sure. And I put it on her. I said, give it just a moment to take effect. So I walked back over, and I'm helping this lady here, and I finished helping her, and it wasn't 2 minutes later. Walter finished up with the lady here, my son, and I said, let's get on her right now. And so I finished, and he started talking to her, and literally we're at 2 minutes, and she starts talking, and she sounds like a total different person. Have you ever heard a person talk who's under major anxiety versus their normal voice? And I heard a different voice. And I stopped, and I said, just a minute. So I walked over to her, and I said, how's it doing? Did it help you out? And she says, what did you just do to me? I said, ma'am, God did it. Isn't that right? God's the one who does it. I don't do it. This doesn't do it. God does it. But I said, God used the phytochemicals and the lavender and the vetiver to get into your blood and then to get to your brain, and it calms you down. And it did that fast. And so as we look at different essential oils and different ways to address things, there's flaxseed. Who's ever used flaxseed? Flaxseed has tryptophan in it. Well, the tryptophan, you've got to grind it, eat it within 15 minutes because flaxseed oxidizes very rapidly. And so you grind it, eat it within 15 minutes. But then you've got to go outside and have sunshine come through the eyes. And as sunshine comes through the eyes, the ultraviolet light comes through the eyes, it stimulates the pineal gland. And the pineal gland then converts the tryptophan into serotonin. Very important. So you need what? You need the tryptophan, which is in your flaxseed, or yes, you could buy tryptophan. Or you could, but you then have to have sunshine, not sunglasses, sunshine, to get that conversion to take place. And then it's going to help the serotonin then be made. Well, guess what's going to happen then that evening when you don't eat a big supper and when you go to bed on time? That serotonin is then going to convert into melatonin. Now, let me share 2 last things. In 1978, I was at Florida Hospital, and there's an an old physician there. He's about to retire. And he said, Walt, if you want to help your patients with stress, he said, the best thing I ever found was B-complex. Who's ever used B-complex? It's amazing. And so if you're having brain issues and you need to calm down, I remember I asked Dr. Campbell one time, T. Colin Campbell, I said, Dr. Campbell, this is the outcome I get when I do B-complex 100, 1 each meal. I said, tell me the foods that I can eat to get that much. He says, Walt, you can't get that through food. Yes, food is important. You can get B vitamins from food, but to get what you're getting, to get that therapeutic effect, he says you better use the supplementation. And so normally we do pretty good, but if you have a person that has a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, you might need to supplement a little extra. And B vitamins are just phenomenal on it. And the last one is, well, there's magnesium, but lithium orotate. Now, I learned this from a guy called Neil Nedley in his book, Depression, The Way Out. Our bodies have lithium, and it's an element we get from our food. B vitamins, lithium, magnesium get dumped when we have stress, when we're running from the bear, when fight or flight happens. And we've got to get those nutrients back. And so lithium orotate, not the drug lithium, but lithium orotate, it's just a little element, but it is phenomenal of helping to deal with stress, anxiety, depression, and it blows the doors off stuff for bipolar and schizophrenia. And you can use this, it's very simple, it's just an element. Well, I hope that's been beneficial. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about those 8 keys to help improve brain function.